9:15. And where do we go, said he, from here? Yes, we were talking about Ardlow School. Now, we decided to go out and about, of course, when we got wind of the word that Ardlow School were to hold a reunion this weekend, and we decided to go along and find out a little bit more about it. So what we did was we spoke to a lot of people. This is a piece we recorded. We spoke to quite a number of people in recent times about the reunion coming up, and it's very interesting stuff, and I hope you can stay with us and have a listen to it, because there are many characters on it and indeed many stories to be told as well. Now, one of the first people, in actual fact, that we spoke to on it was committee member Catherine Murtagh. Did I say that right, Catherine? I think I did. Catherine Murtagh. And Catherine told us about the weekend, and indeed also gave us a briefing on some of the history of the school.
Yeah, on Saturday next we'll have the school opened from 2 o'clock, and we'll have it brought back as what it was like in the olden days, or at least in the 1950s and 60s. And that'll be, anybody be welcome to visit the school from 2 o'clock. And then from about 10 o'clock on, we'll have a céilí, an old time, in a marquee up at Ina House. And we'll have music there by the Lakeside Céilí Band, and we hope that people will gather there and chat of old times. On Sunday then, the school, again for people that might be coming from a distance, will be opened from 12 o'clock. And then there will be Mass at 4 p.m. in the school yard, weather permitting. And we have a meal in the marquee at 6 p.m. and a launch of the book at 7 p.m. We have written a book in memory of Ardlow School. It's called The Road by Ardlow School. And this book will be launched by Sally Kyle, and Sally was the last teacher in Ardlow School in 1970. And after that then we'll have dancing to the Lavey Trio on Sunday night. And then on Monday we'll have a historical tour of the area, taking in our book we have some of the landmarks, and we'll be visiting those such as Rafney Graveyard and up to the Heritage Centre in Mull as well, and back for a cup of tea and sandwiches. So that's basically what the weekend will be.
Good. Now, what gave birth to all of this?
Well, I think over the past couple of years people had been meeting and saying, wouldn't it be a lovely idea to see everybody that went to the school in the last years? And so at about 10 months ago, I'd say, or maybe a year, there was meetings held here in the community centre in Cross, and we formed a committee last November, and since then we have been working both on a book and on the school to bring it back in, that people can visit it at the weekend.
So you obviously have big plans to have a lot of people indeed home from abroad, apart from the ones that are local, Peader McCabe. Can you give us a little rundown on that?
Yes, that's right, Michael. We sent invitations to all the past pupils of the school, no matter where they were. They had been in America, England, Australia, anywhere. Them all have got invitations, and we're hopeful of a very big turnout, and a lot of immigrants coming home for that weekend. In fact, there's some of them home already.
What about the school itself, Ardlow School? Here you are about to celebrate. Can you tell us much about it? You know, is it an old school, and how long has it been closed?
Yeah, Ardlow School was opened on October the 2nd in 1897, and it closed on June the 30th, 1970. Actually, my own sixth class was the last sixth class to complete their education in Ardlow School. It was built by Father Luke Carroll, and it came about by the closing of Rafney School, which is an older school even. Rafney School was opened in 1839, just after the Education Act was passed, and after schools really. And when Rafney closed in 1897, Ardlow opened. And also there was another school in this end of the parish called Doon School, and it opened in 1844 and closed in 1905, and the pupils also came to Ardlow School. So I think through the years from 1897 to 1970 we had about 550 pupils that passed through the doors of Ardlow School.
And what about those older schools you talk about, Rafney and Doon? Were they known as schoolhouses, or were they modern schools such as modern schools were then?
Well, Doon School replaced, there was a hedge school in Doon, and Doon School was a permanent structure and one room. It was about 11 foot wide by 20 foot long, and there was actually 2 teachers teaching, and at one time there was 70 or 80 pupils on the rolls. And then in about 1876 it just got to be one teacher's school, and it actually was burned in 1891. In those times the children came to school as a more of a social outlet really, and one child was very sick this day at school, and the teacher put on a huge big fire, and that evening the chimney caught fire and the thatch roof, and the school was burned. But the teacher ran a school in her own house for about a month, and the school was repaired at a cost of 13 shillings and 9 pence, 9 shillings and 13 pounds, 9 shillings and 5 pence. And it actually, we have the letters that we got a copy of the letters from the National Archives in Dublin of the teacher writing to the Board of Education, telling them that she was reopening the school and looking for her grant, and also a letter from Father Carl, who was the PP in Mull at the time, looking for various items to help with education, maps of the world and school, the roll books and that, and we have copies of those in the books. So in Rafney School, actually, Peader, you...
Rafney School, as far as I know, Michael, was also a one-room school, and there's inspector's reports that we have, some few that we dug up, and the most thing that was said about it was that there was always overcrowding in it. Now, I had an aunt, she was born in 1894, so she was only 3 when she went to Rafney School. I suppose it was because it was being closed. And she said she remembered her first day at Rafney School, and the only place they had to put her was in the window. So it must have been fairly overcrowded at that way going on.
So obviously a new school like Ardlow School then, it was something, it was a welcome guest?
Oh, I'd say so. It was a 2-room school. It was... it still is a fine-looking building, so it must have been a fairly great thing 100 years ago.
Well, it's exactly 100 years old this year, is it, apparently, the building itself?
That's right. That's right. I'd say that probably this time 100 years ago, the pressure was likely well on them to try and get it finished.
Right. Does anybody have any idea, not that it makes an awful lot of difference at this stage, 100 years later, what it might have cost, or rough figures even then?
Well, I think the cost of the school was about £365 at the time. And some of the reports that we dug up in our, we came across different problems there was with the school. One of the problems was the drawing of the chimney. Seemingly an inspector came one day and the school was full of smoke. So there was some hold up on the grant for the school. I think there was a grant of £60 or something like that. So the grant wouldn't be passed until this thing was fixed anyhow, the chimney. Seemingly all the windows and doors had to be left open in the school to keep the air clean. Another problem we came across was the gate. One day the inspector came to school and he couldn't get in because the gate was so tight. It was very tight against the pier, and he had to cross the wall. And even to the present day, the gate is still the same way. Yeah, it never was fixed anyhow, but they must have got their money somewhere or another.
Well, you obviously, James Farrelly, you didn't attend Ardlow School, I presume.
Oh, I did. Sure.
Did you?
Oh, I did, yeah. I started in Ardlow and finished. Started Ardlow in the early 60s and finished in 69. Yeah. So most of my class now most of them are in Ireland except one. Felim, Lynch. Felim was my best friend at school, and he emigrated to England and then went from that to America, and he's the first back home for this reunion, and it's great to see him.
I'm sure it is, and indeed any of those that would have travelled long distances, and indeed the ones locally as well. Well, I'm sure they'll be looking forward to that event coming up at the weekend. Ardlow School reunion starts on Saturday and of course concludes on Sunday, or rather Monday. Right, okay, 2 minutes after 9:30, and it's Ramling Roads live from our Cavan studios here on Northern Sound. Right, okay, we're going back now to Ardlow School without any further ado, and our last speaker in actual fact was James Farrelly, and he was talking about Felim. Well, Felim Lynch, incidentally, is one of the people that's home from way out abroad in actual fact, and as James said, they were good friends at school, so when we moved up to Felim, I put it to him, were they still good friends?
Definitely. There's 4 of them here right now that was in that class. We were the biggest class in the school when I was going to that.
What do you mean by the biggest?
Well,
the biggest playboys?
The 6 people in that class. I think there was only about 23 people going to the school when I was going to it. And it's great to be back here with them and celebrate the 100th anniversary.
Right. When did you emigrate and to where?
I went to England first in 76, 77. And I went to America in 82. So I guess I'm an American now. And that's about it.
Right.
It's great to be back here and meet them all again.
Is this your first visit in so many years,
No,
or are you a frequent visitor?
I was back home here 2 years ago. And before that, about 5 years ago. I come as often as I can. It's not hard when you have a wife and 2 kids, so I brought them all with me this time.
Good. Right, so you're obviously looking forward to the weekend.
Very much so. Very much so.
It's probably only years after that people sometimes realise what their school days really meant to them. Maybe didn't appreciate it at the time.
Well, that could be said too, indeed.
Well, I'm sure you have different memories.
Yeah. Well, our house was so close to the school, I kind of remember running in and out all the time for our lunch. And football games was probably more important to me going to school than studying.
Who was your teacher or teachers
I
then?
had Sally Kyle and Miss Finn, yes. Mrs. It was a girl from Mulleary there. Mrs. Mellon, yeah. Mrs. Duffy, yeah.
Are you saying that maybe to an extent that the school was a bit of an eyesore to you, the fact that you live very close to it?
I was so close to it, I always had to go.
You saw school all the time?
I couldn't stay home. If I tried to get a day off, I'd be sent anyway, you know, so...
Right.
That was about it, really.
Okay, right. Well, obviously, when you set out to do something and to organise a school reunion, it's a big undertaking. If nothing more, there's a fair bit of sifting and combing, if you like, and trying to suss out what might be the best way to approach it, Catherine. And to do that obviously took a lot of time and effort, I'm sure.
It did, but we were lucky. We had a very hard-working committee, and we had about 30 people that came here to meetings. And we decided that one of the best memories we could give for Ardlow School was to publish a book. And just not a book of the pupils' memories, but a book of the lifestyle at that time and of the different trades and that went on in the countryside. And we were very successful in that we actually have a book of 320 pages. And of that 320 pages, we have about 40 to 50 of photographs. And the photographs stretch from... we have a photograph from a teacher in Doon School that taught in the late 1800s, 1895 and there. And we have class photographs from Ardlow School from the 1920s. So it just shows you the numbers at the school, but it also shows you the dress and the way the people, or what the children wore coming to school. And it was hard work, but we were very grateful to all the people that shared their memories with us and gave us very valuable photographs to be published in the book. And it's something that will be here for many, many generations to come. And we also hope that it will be used as a reference book, because we actually have in it every pupil's name that went to Rafferty School from 1872, We're very lucky in having that. And also we broke, Ardlow School was roughly opened for 75 years. So for every 25 years we divided the book, and we have a list of the pupils that attended for each 25 years. So I think it will be for people, families that have died out and have gone out of the country altogether, it will be useful for them to come back and look up and see their ancestors' names, and also we have the trades of their fathers, and there's some very interesting ones: coach builders, herds, blacksmiths, stonemasons, the whole lot down along the list.
Good. So it's not just a book, it's almost an autobiography on Ardlow School and indeed its pupils there.
Yeah, and the area, wider area. We also did something on the landmarks in the area, and also Professor Agnes Farrelly, founder of the Gaelic League, she went to Rafney School, and we have the register of her attendance at school, and also herself and her brother Professor Alphonsus visited Ardlow School in 1901, and we were very lucky to be able to photocopy the roll book and their comments, what they wrote on it, and that's also in the book.
And it's all deadly accurate.
Of course. as close as we can be, anyway.
Good.
As close as it can be. So, yeah, on the Ardlow School, Ardlow School was built between the old road and the new road. From maps, we've got maps from 1836 actually, and the present Bailiff Virginia Road is not on that map. It's an older road that went up by the corner of the school. So when the parish priest was looking for a site to build a school, there was 3 sites mentioned, one in Lisnabuntry, one up at Quilca, and but the one at Ardlow was chosen because it was between the 2 roads and more central to that area.
And were there twists and turns on the old road too, do you think?
No, the old road was straight, but when the new road was making, people with influence got it closer to their houses, and that's why we have a twisty road.
Right, okay.
So,
right.
yeah.
You apparently, I've noticed that you had to do a little bit of refurbishing on the school. How bad was it in disrepair, or was it?
Well, sorry. Remember, one of the first days we went down, our first job was to clean a house of hay. There was bales of hay in the school for some time, and so we cleared that out anyway, and so we discovered that the floor was in quite a bad repair, you know, and there was a lot of work to be done on the floor due to leaks in the roof mainly, you know, and the leak in the roof also brought down some of the ceiling inside, so we had quite a mess really to clear up. The windows were also in a very bad shape, with most of the glass being broken and some of the sashes rotten, gone from the frames, and so the paint falling on the walls. We had a lot of work to do, which we are still working at the present time.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it was only to be expected. I suppose it wouldn't have been maintained all that much in more modern years, or recent years anyway. Just before I finish up with you, for now at least, Catherine, we'll get a briefing on the events again over the weekend. What time you kick off it, if we can use the phrase?
Well, we'll have the school open from 2 p.m. on Saturday next, and then we have a Cayley, an old time in the Marquee at Ina House from 10 o'clock on Saturday. And on Sunday, the school will again be open from 12. We have Mass at the school, weather permitting, at 4 o'clock, a meal in the Marquee at 6 p.m, and the launch of the book at 7. And that'll be followed by dancing to the Lavey Trio on Sunday night. And on Monday then we have a historical tour of the parish.
Right, well, for very obvious reasons, of course, Nellie, Lynch, you live beside the school.
Next
being
door.
Phelim's mum. Next door?
Yeah, nearly next door.
Right. You started school there, I presume, did you?
No, I was in Cross.
Oh, you were in...
Oh, Cross.
Oh, sort this out for me.
Yeah.
Right.
I was in... I was too far from Ardlow. I was nearer to Cross, so I came to Cross.
Right.
So, Felim, I got married, I lived beside the school.
Yeah.
So all my family went to Ardlow School. No job for them in school, throw them across the wall. Not in. They couldn't stay home one day.
Yeah. You'd probably even hear them at playtime, I'm sure.
Oh, when they're not. You wouldn't have to tell me when they were out. You'd no dinner hour.
Do you have any other memories from Ardlow School? You know, things you would have heard about it, or read about it, or seen about it down through the years, or things passing in the area?
Get my brain together. I don't remember.
Nothing unusual as such?
No, only just playing and jumping the wall and in and out to the school. You don't, I don't know. I have no...
Yeah. What sort of relationship with you as a neighbour almost of the school would you have with the teachers?
I loved all the children. I did.
And the children?
Oh, yes, definitely. And the teachers. I'd like to see the teacher coming in for the kettle to get boiled. Make a cup of tea at 12 o'clock. It'll be 12. I'd love to see them singing and dancing and playing football. It was just, it's like if the war, they didn't know what it was when the school closed.
She used to also light the fire. She used to have to bring
coal.
a little coal to light the turf in the school. To start the fire off in the mornings.
It was very lonesome when the school closed. No sound, no nothing. Just...
But you give out about it, did you not, for years before?
Oh, no, I didn't give out, no. I loved the noise.
You loved it?
No, I did, and the company. It's just great.
Would there not be stages when it get on your nerves a little?
No, never on my nerves, no. I always enjoyed them.
It was also silent then when it closed up?
Oh, silent. I thought the world was gone.
Yeah.
Everything dead when they left.
A big gap.
Big gap. No noise, no fun, no slap, no shouts, no nothing.
Were there any other houses in the area that the tea would have been made other than yours? I mean,
well, I was the nearest to the school.
You were the nearest, obviously.
You see, unless you go up to the Alfie, poor Alfie Lynch, Lord Reston was up the road. He was up a little too far. No, and I was the nearest.
Yeah, but who was that tea for? I mean, that was obviously
the teacher.
Just the teacher.
Oh, the teacher. Oh, there was no tea given to the pupils.
Yeah.
Oh, no. If I started that, I was away.
And what was...
Me allowed out of the schoolyard once they started school until they got out at 3. So she might maybe come in. There was one from Bailiff who used to come in going to school. She was Mrs. Conley. She was Mrs. Conley, wasn't she? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Miss Connell, that's her. Yeah. She used to come in and she'd say, you'll have the kettle ready. I said, oh, good.
You used to have to come in for the time also. The clock would always be broken at school.
And maybe say, the teacher might ask the time. What time is it?
My younger brother was sent in several times, Peader. And when he'd be coming back out with the time, he'd meet some of the older guys and they would put on about 15 or 20 minutes.
Oh, half an hour.
So there was many a day we were out at 2 o'clock and we should have been in till 3.
Yeah. What about coming up to Christmas or even summer or school holidays and that sort of thing? Mm-hmm. Would there be anything special laid on then?
No, I don't think so. She wouldn't.
Well, we used to try and leave the ball outside so we'd have it for the summer. Yeah. Because we couldn't get in to get it. The school would be locked up for 3 months. So we'd hide the ball outside and could always play football during the summer months.
Father Leo Sheridan, could I talk to you for a few moments, indeed just to remind those that are listening that we're talking about a school reunion. This time it's Ardlow School in the parish of Crossmulla, and of course their special weekend is coming up, August Bank Holiday Weekend. Your memories of Ardlow School are, I suppose, they're different or indifferent, or they're mixed feelings?
Well, my memories of the pupils are excellent. I spent about 4 years there. And I enjoyed it very much, but my relation with the principal wasn't all that warm. Eventually, when I was about 8-year-old, we parted company. It was neither in his interest nor mine that we continued together. But I have sufficient memories for all those years that I was there. I remember all the things that happened, almost day after day after day. Raffinley School, it was, my father went to school there, the school Catherine was talking about. Yeah. And my uncles went to school there. And, but they didn't, when Ardlow opened, they went elsewhere. They didn't, and, but I enjoyed the years there very much. I have great memories, and especially of the pupils. And I remember all of them, each and every one of them, when Catherine, we began looking at the photographs. I could identify everybody in the photograph. I could, then of course, the people in between, I've had the good fortune of meeting them since. I was out of the country for many years after, and I lived in Nigeria. And there was a big gap in my knowledge of the locality, but I've made up for it in recent times and got to know them all, and it was a great pleasure. And I'm delighted to be able to be with them and to offer the Mass on the 3rd, on Sunday. And please God, it will be a fine day, and I look forward very much to meeting all of them. Schools, I could keep on talking for a whole night about schools. Schools were very much part of my life in the missions. Perhaps I could give you that later on in the programme, perhaps, about the importance of education, what it meant to people who hadn't got it. Because at the time that we're talking about at Rafferty and the beginning of Ardlow School, education wasn't compulsory. Quite a number of people were, up until that time, they couldn't read, they couldn't write. Quite a number of people couldn't read the Celt. They had to depend on somebody who had gone to school at least for some time. And then, of course, going to school could be an erratic thing, because young fellas and girls too, they had to stay at home to plant the potatoes, to gather the potatoes, to help with the harvest, to help go to fairs, to do whatever else were needed in the farm work, because they're all a farming community. And that going to school could be quite an erratic business. What I could tell you about the beginning of education would be, it'd be very interesting to see a community that was beginning without any education among the people who lived there. That would be when I worked as a missionary. But I came across a poem. It was in a book, a wonderful treasury of poetry called Around the Bory Log. I'm sure many listeners would be quite aware of it. It was written by a Father Hartigan. He described the life and times of Irish emigrants in the outback in Australia. And perhaps their life would be very much akin to the lifestyle of the people when, say, Ardlow School was opened.
Indeed, yes. Well, that was Father Leo Sheridan, and we'll be going back to that poem, of course, in a moment. We're coming up to news at 10 o'clock, and indeed to take us on our way there to news, this is a little one from Phil Coulter.
Northern Sound. News on the hour.
Independent Network News at 10 o'clock. This is Deirdre Grant. A new development emerged this evening in the government inquiry into the Bridget McCole hepatitis C scandal. INN has learned that the lawyers representing the late Mrs McCole's daughters do not wish to make public the findings of an inquiry conducted by Health Minister Brian Cowan. Our political correspondent John Cooney reports.
At today's Cabinet meeting, Health Minister Brian Cowan presented a report into how the Rainbow Coalition conducted the legal strategy against the late Bridget McCole. This report was compiled by an independent senior counsel based on internal records. But Mr Cowan has been told by the lawyers for the McCole daughters that they do not want the report made public. Tomorrow, Mr Cowan will write to the McCole family suggesting a solution which could be sensitive to the family while also protecting the public interest and the right to know. John Cooney, INN, Leinster House.
The government has fixed Thursday, October the 30th as the date for the presidential election. The deadline for nominations will be Tuesday, September the 30th. The former Taoiseach Albert Reynolds is a front-runner for the Fianna Fáil nomination. The Fine Gael Parliamentary Party will discuss its nominee at a special meeting on Thursday, with MEP Mary Benotti widely tipped. The Labour Party has not yet decided on a candidate, but the name of former Minister Michael D. Higgins is being strongly mentioned in political circles. The McCracken report into payments to politicians by Dunn's Stores is expected to be completed in the last week of August, according to political sources close to the Tribunal of Inquiry. If this deadline is met by Judge McCracken, the Dáil will be reconvened by the Taoiseach in early September to discuss its findings. The opposition parties have already demanded a new inquiry into all payments made to former Taoiseach Charles Haughey from business sources, and they will almost certainly renew these demands in the special Dáil debate. The Stormont talks have broken up for the summer. All parties left today knowing that both governments are determined to press ahead with substantive talks in mid-September. An Irish government source said today that much groundwork would be done over the summer. Sinn Féin Vice President Pat Doherty emerged from his first meeting with the independent leader of the peace talks, Senator George Mitchell, saying that he was realistic about the way forward.
My feelings generally are realistic. We know there's a lot of problems. We want this process to be inclusive. We want the unionists to be there. We are also saying nobody can have a veto. And we're very focused on the fact that on the 15th of September we need to move into real and meaningful and substantial talks. There has to be real political and real constitutional change to move this situation onwards.
Meanwhile, Gerry Adams is poised for yet another high-profile visit to America. It follows confirmation from the US Ambassador to Ireland, Jean Kennedy Smith, that there'll be no objection if he applies for a visa this summer. She says the change of heart follows the renewal of the IRA ceasefire and that Mr Adams' visit will encourage dialogue, which is vital for the Northern talks process.
Mr Adams will have a visa. I think now that we have a ceasefire, it's very important that there be as much dialogue as possible between all the interested parties and between the United States as well. So I think everything is opening up, and I think that's very important for the future.
Fine Gael's Nora Owen has called on the Minister for Justice, Equality and Law Reform, John O'Donoghue, to state exactly when he will amend legislation to allow British lottery tickets to be sold in Ireland. She said the new EU decision now means that British lottery tickets through Camelot can be sold openly in Irish outlets. Deputy Owen added that there needs to be an immediate re-examination and clarification of pending prosecutions, which the Director of Public Prosecutions instructed the Gardaí could take against shops which have been selling British lottery tickets. Independent Network News, with the time approaching 4 minutes past 10.
This weekend,
Hello again, it's Morag from All Points North, reminding you that Shannonside Northern Sound is offering 10 lucky listeners the chance to win a complete set of Easy Pale handmade ceramics in tasteful country cottage green and white. Easy Pale is a blended spread made from cream and vegetable oil. And here comes the magic sentence. Easy Pale is manufactured by Golden Vale in Charleville, County Cork. To enter, all you have to do is answer 2 simple questions. Who manufactures Easy Pale and where is Golden Vale situated? Answers on a postcard, please, before the 29th of July to Easy Pale, Northern Sound Radio, Glassock Street, Monaghan or Town Hall Street in Cavan. And stay tuned to All Points North for further details.
Okay, well, you're welcome back to the programme. 4 minutes after 10 o'clock, it's Ramlin Roads live from our Cavan studios here on Northern Sound, and our number is 61366. Now, I'm going to repeat the quiz before we go any further. We're going to repeat our little quiz on this Monday night. We do have 2 cassettes to give away tonight, which means that we will have 2 winners at the end of the night at about 20 to 12 or thereabouts. And where are we now here? What we wanted to know, of course, is when a person is described as getting long in the tooth, to what is the speaker referring to? When a person is described as being getting long in the tooth, to what is the speaker referring to? If you know the answer to that, Cavan 61366 or calling from the north, 0035349 61366. Now, the line for the quiz will be left open until about 11:30, and we'll be repeating that on and off during the course of the night, so you'll have plenty and lots of time to get in your call. All right, then. This programme brought to you in association with Elco Oils Limited in Kirkcahan, and the free phone number there is 1-800-411-422. Now, we've been asked to play a very special request, and indeed great praises for all the fire brigades who quelled a serious fire in Mulleary last night, and we're also asked to send best wishes to the injured fireman and hope that he will be home with his family and well soon again. Now, the fire brigades apparently that were involved there in the quelling of that particular fire were from Navan, Kells, Nobber, Kingscourt, Virginia, Longford and Cavan Town, and that particular request came in from a very good neighbour. So well done to all the people that were involved in that, in the quelling of that serious fire there in Mulleary last night, and let's hope that while the person injured will be out and about and back home indeed with his family again. But well done to all the fire brigades from Navan, Kells, Nobber, Kingscourt, Virginia, Longford, and indeed Cavan Town as well. Well done to them. And we also say a very good evening to Freddie and Madeline Carter. They're home from London for the Ardlow School reunion, and that's a special request that came in from James and Bernie Farrelly and all the family in Ardlow. All right. Now, we'll also say hello to Kate Conlon, and Kate is in Ashbrook Avenue, Dundalk, in the County Louth. And in actual fact, she would like to hear a little song from Mary Duff, and I think what we will do is we will play that song for you, and that's for you, Kate Conlon, and indeed all the others in Ashbrook Avenue, Dundalk, in the County Louth. This is Mary Duff.
Is this just a religious game we're
Yes, indeed. Well, of course, I did have that in mind for you, Kate Conlon. You requested Mary Duff. You also requested that particular track from her CD, simply named Michael. You couldn't put a foot wrong, really, could you? Anyway, nice to know that you're enjoying the programme. Kate Conlon, Ashbrook Avenue in Dundalk. And we played it also for Freddie and Madeline Carter, home from London, for the Ardlow School reunion, and that came in from James and Bernie Farrelly, and indeed all the family there in Ardlow. All right, and do we have another one here? I think we'll mention it before. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll repeat the quiz once again. And what we want to know tonight, the answer to this is, when a person is described as being getting long in the tooth, to what is the speaker referring to? If you know the answer to that, 61666. That is the number here in Cavan. Request also here for Anne McGuigan, Castleshane in Monaghan, home from New York, and that's from her mother, Mary Riley in Balnalee, and indeed brother Paddy in Ardillan, Mullingar in the County Westmeath. So well done to you all. Right, We repeated the quiz, and those lines will be open for the quiz until half past 11 rather, so you can take your time and you'll have no problems getting through. Obviously, some phones can become a little bit jammed when everybody tries to get through at the one time, but we'll leave them open until half past 11, and it will give everybody a chance that tries to get through, and we will have 2 cassettes, 2 winners at about 11:45 tonight for you. All right. Now then, something else I want to remind you before we rejoin Father Leo Sheridan and his little poem. And that is, I'm sure that you're well aware at this stage, if you've been listening over the last few days or so, of course, in the wake of Cavan's success in the Ulster Championship recently, that Northern Sound will be, and in actual fact have started earlier on today, to give away a jersey, 1 jersey each day for the next 28 days. It's down almost now to 27 days till that All-Ireland semi-final against Kerry. So we will be giving away 1 jersey every day. Now, the procedure is as follows. What happens is, each day at some stage, you will hear a short little clip of our commentary on the Ulster final between Cavan and Derry. So what you do then is you pick up the telephone and you ring this number. It's 049 61 666. That's 049 61 666. And when you hear, if you hear that, it could be early in the morning, it might be 11 o'clock, it could be lunchtime in the evening, or when you hear that, and don't try to cut us, because we know, I mean, when that goes out, let's face it, you pick up the phone, and we will know the exact times that it will be going out at, and you pick up the phone and ring 61666, and you're in with a very good chance of winning one of these jerseys that they are all mad to get their hands on, all seriously wild, and youngsters in particular, to get their hands on one of these Cavan jerseys. So here in Northern Sound for the next 28 days, starting as and from today and right up to the semi-final, we will be giving away 1 jersey each day. So again, what you have to do is, if you hear, we will be playing a little clip of the commentary from the Ulster final with Cavan and Derry, and when you hear that, pick up the phone and ring that number 61666, and, well, if you're not in, you can't win, and you're in with as good a chance maybe as the next. All right. Father Leo, you're going to give us the gist of this poem that we were talking about.
The course of that poem, you find the mother of the family emphasizing to her children about the wonderful thing that learning was, giving them an opportunity of getting along with their lives and so on. So maybe I could try to read that poem of Father Hartigan's. It's a little bit long, but I've left out a number of verses that are peculiarly Australian, and I'll do my best with it.
Okay.
So if people could have a little bit of patience. 'Tis a queer old battered landmark that belongs to other years, with the dog-leg fence about it and its hat about its ears, and the cowbell in the gum tree and the bucket on the stool. There's a motley host of memories round that old bush school, with its seedy desks and benches, where at least I left a name carved in agricultural letters. 'Twas my only bid for fame. And the spider-haunted ceilings and the rafters firmly set, lined with darts of nibs and papers, doubtless they're in them yet. And the greasy slates and blackboards, where oft I was proved a fool and a blur upon the scutcheon of the old bush school. Still the scholars pass before me with their freckled features grave, and a nickname fitting better than the name their mothers gave. Tousled hair and vacant faces, and their garments every one shabby heirlooms in the family, handed down from father to son. Aye, and mine were patched in places, and half-masted as a rule. But they were fashionable trousers at the old bush school. There I trudged it from the 3 mile like a patient toiling brute, with a stocking round my ankle and my heart within my boot. Morgan, Nell, and Mary Joseph, Jim and Mary, Kate and Mart, tramping down the sheep track with me, little rebels in the heart. Early rising in the half-light, when the morn came bleak and chill, and the little mother roused us ere the sun had topped the hill. Up, you children, late it's getting, shook the house beneath her knock. And she wasn't always truthful, and she tampered with the clock. Keen she was about the learning, and she told us o'er and o'er of her luck to have the schooling right against our very door. And the lectures, oh, the lectures to our stony hearts addressed. Don't be mixing with the Reagans or the Ryans or the rest. Don't be picking up with Carey's little talkative canats. Well, she had us almost thinking we were born aristocrats. But we found our level early, in disaster as a rule, for they knocked the notion sideways at the old bush school. Down the road came laughing Mary, and the beast that she bestrode was Maloney's sorry piebald that she found beside the road. Straight we scrambled up behind her, and as many as could fit clung like circus riders, bareback, without bridle, rein or bit. On that corrugated backbone in a merry row we sat. We propelled her with our school bags. Mary steered them with her hat. And we rolled the road behind us like a ribbon from the spool, making butter, so we called it, to the old bush school. What a girl was Mary Casey in the days of long ago. She was a queen among the scholars, or at least we thought her so. She was first in every mischief, and whenever fate o'erwhelmed, she made delightful drawings of the teacher on her slate. There was rhythm in every movement, or as she gaily passed along with a rippling laugh that lilted like the music of a song. So we called her Laughing Mary, and a fitful fancy blessed e'en the bashful little daisies that her dainty feet caressed. She had cheeks like native roses in the fullness of their bloom. She used to sing the sweetest as we marched around the school. In her eyes there lurked a magic, maiden freshness of the morn. In her hair the haunting colour I had seen upon the corn. Round she danced the happy sunshine when she smiled upon the stool, and I used to swap her dinners at the old bush school. Hard the cobbled road of knowledge to the feet of him who plods after fragile fragments falling from the workshop of the gods. Long the quest, and ever thieving past the peddlers o'er the hill with the treasures in their bundles, but they leave us questing still. Mystic fires horizons redden, but each crimson flash in turn only lights the empty places in the bracken and the fern. So in after years I've proved it, spite of pedant, crank and fool, very much the way I found it at the old bush school. That's the end of that poem. It reflects the life of the people in that place, but you notice the interest that the mother had in schooling. So that everybody who went to those schools, they had to learn a lot there, because there were no free education at the time. There were no secondary education, no second level, no third level. Here in Cavan, the only schools were the Royal School in Cavan, St. Pat's, and Loreto, which were quite a long distance away. So perhaps we could leave it now for somebody else to recall their memories. We could go into it later on about other things that happened.
Indeed. Yeah, just before we do that, in actual fact, now you talked there about living abroad for quite a number of years. That obviously meant, I suppose, in many aspects and ways, that you were a member of the church. You became a priest. When you attended school, and certainly in the early days, had you a desire or an ambition, or had you any ideas to what might be in front of you?
Oh, none whatever. No. None whatever. I was like everybody else. I wanted to be a tractor driver like Charlie Conway here, who had his father had a thrasher, and Charlie, it was a wonderful experience to see a man doing something like that, or perhaps driving a train. My father had a lorry. I liked that business too. I like going to fairs and markets and buying things, seeing people buying and selling cattle and fowl and the rest of it. I had all these ambitions just like anybody else. I don't know whether I'd like to be a farmer, but I did like farming. Of course, when you went home from school, you had to gather potatoes, say. It was a slower business than now. You hadn't all the machinery that perhaps Peader might have at his disposal for harvesting potatoes. You just dug with spades and somebody picked up the big potatoes and you went along on a frosty evening to gather the small ones. So that, no, I didn't have any ambitions, no thoughts of being a priest.
All right, Father Leo Sheridan that was. We'll be going back to that in a minute just to break up the programme here with some requests and indeed music as well. By the way, it's 22 after 10 and it's Ramlin Roads. Live from our Cavan studios. Our number is 04961 666. That is the number. You should know it off by heart at this stage. We will be also wishing, of course, right now a very happy 14th birthday to Maria Rock from Mahara, and that'll be coming up on Wednesday next July the 30th. And best wishes here come from Mammy and Daddy, also Martin and Christina, and indeed from David, Niall and James McEnroe, and not forgetting Fiona and Geraldine Brady. Also, they're all thinking of you, so a very, very happy birthday to you, Maria Rock from Mahara. Now, I will once again repeat the results of those under-21 finals that were played a little bit earlier on this evening in County Monaghan. Donamoyne, they defeated Éire Óg 17 points to 1-8. Castle Blaney, they defeated Scottstown 112-1-6. And finally, for now, True, they had a win over Sean McDermott's 2 goals and 13 points to Sean's 3 goals and 7 points in what we're told was a cracking game. In fact, all games were very exciting and entertaining apparently this evening. So well done there. Under-21 final results in Divisions 1, 2 and 3 in County Monaghan earlier on this evening. Now I will also tell you, of course, once again about the Cavan jersey business. Well, we here in Northern Sound will be giving away from now right up until the All-Ireland semi-final 1 jersey per day. And all you have to do here is, first of all, we play a clip of the commentary from the Ulster final with Cavan and Derry. And when you hear that clip, it could be in the morning early, it might be midday, it could be lunchtime, the afternoon, or in the evening, whenever. When you hear it, you pick up the phone and ring this number, 04961 666, and we have 1 jersey for the next 28 days, or in actual fact it's down to 27 now, because that particular competition in fact got underway early this morning. So what you do is, when you hear a clip, a short little clip of the Ulster final commentary with Derry and Cavan, you ring 04961 666. All right. Now, I will once again repeat our quiz at almost 25 after 10, and it is when a person is described as getting long in the tooth. To what is the speaker referring? If you know the answer to that, it's Cavan 61 666, or calling from the north, 0035349 and then 61 666. Good evening also to Bernard O'Reilly in Listen Over, and Bernard, I will be in touch with you later on in the week. All right, we're going to take another little piece of music now before we rejoin our friends in Ardlow School. And speaking of that reunion, well, just a list or a programme of events. It gets underway Saturday next, that's August the 2nd. And first of all, with a visit to the school, open at 2 o'clock. And then Cayley and Old Time in the Marquee at 9 o'clock later in the evening, that is. And music there will be supplied by the Lakeside Cayley Band, whom are quite good, I understand. Then on Sunday, that's August the 3rd, school will open at 12 o'clock. Mass at 4 will be celebrated by Father Leo Sheridan. And at the school, that is weather permitting. Well, it looks a little bit dodgy, doesn't it, here and there, though it was quite pleasant this evening. But perhaps by the weekend it may clear up. Then, continuing on Sunday at 6 o'clock, a meal in the Marquee and the launching of the book at 7 o'clock. Now, in relation to the book, of course, this is a very comprehensive book, and obviously with almost 100 years of history to Ardlow School, this is a very, very comprehensive book with quite a number of pages, more than 300 pages in it, with lots of photographs and lots of stories and lots of history and all the things that you would like to hear about Ardlow School in the early days from it was first opened back in 1897. So that book would be something that everybody should certainly throw their eye on and indeed go go along there and purchase one of those books, because there's a lot of stuff in it, a lot of photographs and a lot of stories and so on and so forth. And that will be on sale. It will be launched at 7 o'clock on Sunday evening, and of course on sale thereafter. And indeed there'll be entertainment after the launchment of the book, and dancing then will be to the Lavey Trio. While on Monday, that's the 4th of August, there will be a historical tour of the area. Now that'll be good, and that'll be very good, particularly for people that have come from abroad, going back in the highways and the byways that they might not have been for donkey's years. So it's something to watch out for there. All right, that's Ardlow School reunion. And of course, Brusky and Ahalura, they've also got a school reunion coming up at the weekend as well. So that'll be something to look forward to for the people in that area, no doubt, as well. All right, then. It's 27 minutes after the hour of 10 o'clock. We're going to play a little piece of music, and let's hope that this piece of music will, well, sort of please some of the names there that we mentioned and that we read out. And indeed, we will also include in it Anna Meehan and Amy O'Neill, and they're from Clover Hill, and that comes in from Granny. So, not so sure. I'm sure they're at school, or maybe haven't started school, or what their ages are, but they'll be there or thereabouts anyway. Anna Meehan and Amy O'Neill, and they're from Clover Hill. This is a song. It's sung by a fella called Derek Eakins, and he is a native of Cootill, or just outside Cootill, I do believe. It's a very beautiful little song, and I think most important of all, he's a very, very beautiful singer. He certainly puts it across very well, and I mean that, and I think that you will agree with me when you hear it. And it's also very appropriate, I would have thought, for the weekend that's in it, particularly for school reunions.
I've traveled the world, I've heard people say, it's funny how life has slipped away. But I knew that I'd come back someday to the village where I went to school. In a corner of a field, there's a big old tree. It's been growing there before you and me. I carved my name for all to see in the village where I went to school. I would sit in the class on a winter's morn. Sometimes I wish I'd never been born. In second-hand clothes that were tattered and torn in the village where I went to school. Where are they now? Some are over the sea. Odd ones come back to the village like me. There's the smell of bread from the baker's shop, and the little old store where we bought our pop. The coalman's old horse, it goes clippity-clop to the village where I went to school. Yes, I've many treasured memories when the time that all Copley, and the orchard where we climbed the trees in the village where I went to school.
think that was a touchy little number there, and that was Derek Eakins. He was the performer there, a beautiful singer, lovely song there, all to do with, the school days, and that's basically what a lot of our programme is about tonight. Not at all, though. Mount Nugent, of course, they've got a big festival coming up. It's the Tourist and Development and GA Bank Holiday Weekend Festival. That's starting on July 31st and will continue to August the 4th. On Thursday, that's the 31st of July, starting at 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., there's a teenage disco in the GA club rooms. And then on Friday, the 1st of August, 7 p.m., ladies' football match, 8 o'clock, under-14 football final for the Tony Murray Memorial Cup. At 10 o'clock on Friday night, the first heat of Game for a Laugh, £100 in prize money here. This is all happening at Mount Nugent Festival, and also a selection of the 1997 Festival Rose. Wonder who that will be. Music in the Lounge with Chimes. Saturday, August the 2nd, starting at 11 o'clock with the junior fishing competition on Loch Sheelan, and incidentally their entries to John Murphy. At 2 o'clock, Sports Day in the GA grounds, races for all ages, tiny tots, under 16 boys and girls, plus novelty races and sideshows. Then at 7 o'clock on Saturday evening, professional bicycle race through the village. A professional bicycle race through the village. Right. And that will be followed by a presentation of prizes in the Bridge Inn. And incidentally, the second heat of Game for a Laugh will be taking place there, and music by Southern Comfort. On Sunday, that's August the 3rd, starting at 1 o'clock until 3, car treasure hunt with valuable prizes, we're told. And at 2 o'clock, incidentally, pavement painting plus wheel-a-bin races. Yes, that's pavement painting plus wheel-a-bin races. And at 4 o'clock, a duck race on the Inny River, plus terrier racing and donkey derby. What a variety. Then Bunny Baby Show, 12 months, up to 12 months, then from 12 to 18 months, and 18 to 24. So in other words, right up to 2 years. And then at 6 o'clock on Sunday evening, Skittles in the pub yard. Always a good bit of fun there. Music in the lounge, incidentally, that evening with New Smoky. Then at 11 o'clock, a monster barn dance and barbecue in the GA club rooms. Well, this is certainly a festival that's been well put together and very well organised. We're talking about Mount Nugent Tourist Development and GA Bank Holiday Weekend Festival. And music, incidentally, on Sunday night with Eddie Owens and Top Gear, so don't miss that. And, of course, Eddie's tribute to the Cavan 47 team. On Bank Holiday Monday, starting at 2 o'clock, triathlon for over 14s at Crover Shore, and cycle, run and row. At 3 o'clock, boat races, ladies and gents mixed. There'll be some fun, I can tell you about that. At 4 o'clock, children's walking treasure hunt, and then at 6, tug of war. You're obviously not going to remember all of that, but what we're telling you, but that's just to give you a flavour of what's happening at certainly one of the most comprehensive festivals that I have heard of, really, and that's Mount Nugent Tourist Development and GA Bank Holiday Weekend Festival. And then at 4 o'clock, yes, Children's Walking Treasure Hunt, where were we? And then Tug of War at 6 o'clock on Monday evening, that is, at 6. And at 10 o'clock, final of the Game for a Laugh, plus a draw for return flight tickets. Return flight, rather, to New York. A return flight. Doesn't say whether there's one or two, but a return flight to New York, or $300 spending money. And finally, music in the lounge on Bank Holiday Monday night will be with Lynx. Now, that's all happening at Mount Nugent Tourist Development and GA Bank Holiday Weekend Festival, starting on Thursday the 31st of August, and that will be certainly something to look forward to. 31st of July, rather, and concludes on August the 4th. 31st of July, and that's, of course, Thursday night. So there's a lot of entertainment there on that, and if you had any sense at all and felt that you needed a little bit of a lift and something exciting for the weekend, that might not be a bad place to go at all. Mount Nugent Festival. 31st July, Thursday night the 31st, and concludes on August the 4th. That's in 1997. 25 minutes before the hour of 11 o'clock. It's Ramblin' Roads live from our Cavan studios. We'll repeat our quiz once more. Now, I told you at the top of the programme, we started the quiz a little bit earlier on, and we tried to spread it out. This is the purpose of this, that we would spread the load, as it were, because obviously we're inundated with calls starting in at 10:30, and it was most difficult to take in hundreds of calls, well, in the space of an hour. So we started a little bit earlier than we normally would, and tonight what we want to know is, well, when a person is described as being getting long in the tooth, to what is the speaker referring to? You might be just popping up the bingo bus at this stage, and, well, it will give you an opportunity. And I'll repeat it just once more before we rejoin our friends in Ardlow School. And that is, when a person is described as getting long in the tooth, to what is the speaker referring to? Now, if you know the answer to that, ring us here in Cavan, 61366, or call in from the north, 00353. Best wishes also to Brusky and Ahalura School reunion next weekend from Nancy Murphy in Griggy, is it? Monaghan. Griggy, yeah, in Monaghan. And she's looking forward to seeing all her old friends there. Obviously, Nancy is a native of that part of the world, but now living and working in Monaghan. Congratulations to Peter Donoghue on his great performance on Mary Kennedy's show last week on the TV. And that comes in from a friend, so well done to Peter. And good evening to Bridget also, if you're listening to the programme tonight, so I hope that you are. And another little piece of paper here. I think this one may have come in last Monday, because as you may be aware, last weekend we weren't coming to you live from the studio, but rather outside. Anyway, it says here, thanks to the Cavan team for the great thrills and excitement they provided us with in Clonus last Sunday week, and also kept the nerves on edge. You can say that again. People biting their nails that never bit them before. Best of luck against Kerry in the All-Ireland semi-final. And that comes in from Tommy and Kathleen Riley, Rock Road in King's Court. So well done to Tommy and Kathleen, and thanks indeed for that. In actual fact, they rang in with that last weekend, and because of our move outside and lines becoming jammed with the calls and so on and so forth, it was difficult to get, sometimes to get messages through. But anyway, well, we coped as best we could. So that message coming in from Tommy and Kathleen O'Reilly there in King's Court, and wishing the Cavan team all of the very best against Kerry in the All-Ireland semi-final. And a big thank you to them for the great thrills and excitement that they provided in the Ulster final against Derry, and indeed kept a lot of people on their toes and living on their nerves. What about the fella that smoked a cigarette at the Ulster final? His first in 12 years. Think about it. There you go. Now, where are we now? At almost 22:11, we're going to rejoin our friends, because remember this weekend, Ardlow School, which is in the parish, they have a big school reunion coming up. That starts on Saturday and will conclude on Monday. And we were last talking to Father Leo Sheridan when he recited a little poem for us there. And we were talking to him then at that stage, after that conversation, about his future and what the future had held in store for him as a schoolboy.
Even when I went to secondary school, I had no thoughts of being a priest. But I met men that I looked up to, men that mattered an awful lot, good men, holy men, men with had a lot to give to the world. And then it's from them that I got the idea. And then, of course, I thought of the missionary priesthood, because at the time, well, there was a great desire to spread the faith wherever one could, and that I thought of. But in the young days, no. That's just like anybody else.
Are we on? Ardlow School was used for a lot more than teaching purposes. There was many a time we had a serious game of handball up against the side of it, and when the local bar had closed at 11:30 at night, most of the guys